Hi, my name is Keith Cooper from Northlight Images, and in this video I'm going to look at an LED lighting panel, or actually a pair of LED lighting panels. It's the stuff I use in commercial photography. I'm an industrial photographer as well as architectural photographer, and quite often want extra lighting to fill in bits of equipment or stuff. So the kind of product photography I do is things as big as a car, where you can't move them into a studio. So you sometimes need a bit of lighting. Sometimes you can just make use of lighting that's available. I don't use flash very often because I'm often working in industrial environments and I don't really want that sort of equipment. Now the lighting that I'm going to show here is mains powered, although it has an option for batteries, and I'll show that in a moment. But it's K80 pack, two light panels from Pixel. Now it comes in a useful case. Now this may not seem much, but if you're a practical working photographer, not having to find cardboard boxes and other stuff to store your kit in really does make a difference. So it's quite useful. It's a fairly sturdy looking case. It's padded inside. It's got lots of panels, and the nice thing is there's more space than I need for just the lighting panels. Now that means I can put in batteries, chargers, extra leads, a mains extension cable for example, or two mains extension cables. Now I'll get the kit out of here, go through what it is, then I'll set it up and I'll show you an example of it in use. Now this is probably too small a space to clearly show the benefits of the lighting, but you can see the functionality of it. And I will be on the Northlight Images website. I'll be doing some supplementary information about this, and I'll include making custom DNG profiles. Now if you're going to use LED lighting, and here's one of the panels, you see they're quite light, quite convenient to use. They have barn doors on the front of them. But if you're going to use lighting like this, or indeed any changeable lighting where you don't know quite the colour balance and the like, I like to make for my cameras a custom DNG profile for that lighting. Now I don't do camera profiling for normal lighting setups. It tends to be where I'm using slightly different lighting. Now no light source, whether it's cold fluorescent, flash or LEDs, is going to be perfect in terms of its spectral coverage. Now LEDs have got a lot better than they used to be, but what I'll do is I'll take a photograph of this colour checker card. This is a colour checker passport, and I've got lots of information on the site about how to use this and how to make camera profiles with it, which you can then use with editing software. But anyway, I will include a photograph of this when I'm doing setup, and I may not need it, but if I do, I'll be glad I took it. Anyway, here's one of the devices. Now, as I say, it's quite thin. It's a standard mount. Any lighting stand this will fit onto, and you've got at the front, we've got barn doors. Now these are black barn doors, which means they're good for cutting off light. Sometimes, however, I would prefer silver or white on it, just to give a slightly more diffuse source of light. Now, there is a diffuser in here as well, but the key feature here is all these hundreds and hundreds, and I can't remember how many there are, it's in the specifications, but there are hundreds of LEDs soldered to a board here. As a former electronics engineer many careers ago, it always impresses me to see nicely laid out boards and made boards, and this is solid. That's not going to cause you a problem. Now there's a mix of LEDs here. There are warm white and cool white LEDs, which you can see when looking at it here as slightly orangey or slightly blue coloured ones, and then there are more complex RGB lights. Now these can have a red LED, a blue LED and a green LED in each one, and that can be changed to alter the actual colour temperature of what's being produced, or the colour of the lighting I should say. Now it's got various modes of working, but we'll cover that when I actually fire it up so you can see it. On the back there is an LCD display which gives you information which you can set for temperature and brightness, so you can dim this, which is important because you might want balance between lighting. They have a wireless control system, and which means that if you set them to the same channel, and I make the alterations here, another one of these that's tuned to that channel can be adjusted. So if you've got one light somewhere where you can't quite reach very well and another light where you can use the control panel to control the both of them. Also on the back here, the on-off switch has two on positions. There's the normal on-off for connecting up to a power supply. I'll show that in a moment. And there's another one which it switches over to the batteries. Now these are NP5 style batteries. They're not a camera battery I use, but they are very commonly used for video equipment, so you can actually get the batteries for these quite easily. Takes two of them, and you'll need fairly hefty capacity because this thing chucks out quite a bit of light. It doesn't get that warm. There is ventilation on it. It doesn't really get hot on it, one of the advantages of using LED lighting. But all the main controls are on the back here. So the most useful one for me is just the CCT, corrected colour temperature, where you actually set the colour temperature of the lighting you want and then just adjust that brightness wise to get the effect you want. There is an RGB mode which allows you to set the hue that you want, but you can also reduce the saturation of it, and that mixes in the coloured LEDs, the RGB colour LEDs, and the two types of white LED to get different types of light. It's one of those things that you're going to have to experiment with to see which suits your camera setup. Now, I'm talking about stills photography here. I don't do video. It's fine for video as well. You'll just need to set things up for that. But there's the device. There's a simple controller on the back, button in the middle of it changes the mode, and controls there. But anyway, I'll get this out and set it up and then have a look at that. Now here I've set up both lights. They come with a studio stand, which I've only partially opened up here. It goes up to well over 6 foot. This one is open, so you can see it lighting the wall behind me. It's set for a colour temperature of 4000 K, which approximates the LED replacement, halogen replacement bulbs I've got in here. They're a little bit warmer than that. 4K, however, is the temperature I normally set my monitor to when I'm doing displays here, when I'm just sort of trying to show something on a computer screen in the videos I do. So we've got this light here. I haven't put the diffuser sheets on, which means if you look carefully you can see there's a slightly stepped shadow. That's because of the point source of the light. You have to be careful when you've got reflective surfaces, because if you want a source of light which is actually lots of little sources of light in one area, it will show up in reflection, so be careful with diffusers and things like that. But anyway, this light here is also on. I've got the doors shut, so it's limiting the light coming out here onto the colour checker target here. Now, if this was a setup that I'd made and I was happy with the mixed daylight coming in through the window and various other things, I could take a photograph of this and it would accurately represent the lighting here where the target is. Now, I can change the controls. It resets after a few seconds, so you do have to remember to change the focus on the display. Now, at the moment, the two are set and they default to setting to the same wireless band. So if I alter the level of this one, which is currently set at 20%, if I turn this one down, you should be able to see I've gone down to 9%. So I'm turning this one down, but this one is varying. Now, this is a wireless system. It's not phone controlled, I should add. Now, that can be useful on occasions. For lighting like this though, it's not really the sort of thing I want. You can, there is a remote control available for it. It uses the same wireless system, but that's not a standard with this. But I've got a direct link between these two. So if I want to turn up here, and I'm adjusting this one, so I'm turning that up, and you can see it's getting brighter here. We're still up only to 21%. If I take it right up, it will burn out completely. There we go. That's still only 47%. You can see it's getting quite. Take that right up, and back down again to 19%. So hopefully it's not throwing the video off too much. Please do note, I don't do video professionally. So you know, these YouTube videos are to go with my photography stuff. I'm a photographer first, second I'm a writer, and video making comes well down the list. Helps me explain things to people and supplements the articles I write. So I'll put some more technical information in a short article on the Northlight Images website with specifications and the like, and some actual photos of detailed stuff so you can see what it looks like, so you can see what the screen looks like at this point. Now if we do that, I can change group and channel for the wireless settings. I won't go that, but you could have quite a few of these lights and they're all completely controllable. You can set them, you can control them from just one light. However, it also has different functions. Here we have color mode. So there's the brightness, but I can set the hue angle and saturation of this as well. So we're now using the LEDs. So I'm changing the color. Now you can see it more obviously in the lower brightness parts of here because it's obviously burning out at the back here. So if I just go back to brightness, put the brightness down, we're down to quite a low level now. Press the control there, and I can change it here as well. So we can change the hue angle or the colour. So I can take it round. So if you want a coloured background, and you can just change it like that. The saturation is variable as well, so I can change that. So I can take the saturation right down, which is effectively how strong the colour is. So I've washed the colour out here. Saturation's down to 20%. If I take it back up, of course, I mentioned it resets. You have to, it only keeps for a few seconds and goes back to 18%. There we go, take the saturation back up. Press it again. Change the colour. Have something a bit more tawdry, and there you go. Now, how you choose to use things like this entirely depends on what you want. I might use the coloured accents for some lighting inside a machine, something behind a machine, something like that, just to make it look a bit more interesting. A lot of the stuff I photograph is fundamentally boring. It's meaningful to the people who make it, the people who use it, but marketing want pictures which appeal to other people as well. So this is great for adding in colour, and you don't have to have both of these set for colour. I can change the channel so one could be white, normal lighting, and one could be used at a reduced level just for colour. You can have several of them, as I've said. So I could switch this over to battery. Takes 2 batteries per light. So if you've got many of these, that's quite a lot of batteries. And remember, these big batteries like this, so these are the ones often used for video cameras. Unless you've got a quick charger, they can take quite a few hours to charge. So if you're going to be using it battery based, think carefully about your charging, how you're going to keep stuff topped up, spare sets of batteries and the like. And before I forget, because this is an effect I really don't use, it has various special effects as well. So if you want flashing lights, disco lights, giving the impression of thunder, of lightning, and whatever, it does stuff like that as well. But we won't leave the flashing lights running for too long. One more feature I forgot, because there are loads of things here. There is a quick method of adjusting brightness in quarter steps, so you can just press this button so it goes to 50%, 75%, 100% off, back to 25%. In terms of the actual sort of build of that, it's not tremendously rugged, but I don't want rugged equipment for the kind of work I do. I'm not carting this around, chucking it in the back of vans. This is not heavy duty sort of cinematography equipment. This is sort of stuff for the kind of photography I do, which is somewhat more careful, considered, and it's a different type of stuff altogether. If you wanted, lighting, rugged lighting for outdoor shoots on videos and that, then you'll find it. But you'll also find it considerably more expensive. This one is under £300, really nice bit of kit. But anyway, as I said, I will come back to this, have a look at the written notes as well, which I'll put the technical specs and everything else for it and some details on what it is and that. But there you have it, variable LED light from Pixel. It just works really well. Do I have any complaints about it? Not really. No, I can see this is a useful thing for me as a commercial industrial photographer. So hope these videos are of use. I do all kinds of stuff as well as printing, photography, business photography. Please subscribe to the channel if you find it useful, and I'll bring some more bits and pieces like this down and we can have a look at them as well, bits about product photography. So thank you very much.